A century later, he would collect donations. A century later, he would collect donations. His stepfather is a translator. His stepfather is a translator. The ground was covered with snow. The ground was covered with snow. Can they be successful? Can they be successful? I see you. I see you. How many apples did you eat on the way to school? How many apples did you eat on the way to school? We shouldn't be tied. We shouldn't be tied. Can he lose? Can he lose? Can she sing soon? Can she sing soon? He writes in his diary every day. He writes in his diary every day. How can we position it in production? What are our procedures? How can we position it in production? What are our procedures? Can they make jewelry soon? Can they make jewelry soon? I have to mark it 10 years. I have to mark it 10 years. May not usually prevail. May not usually prevail. The situation is beyond the power of human understanding. The situation is beyond the power of human understanding. How many apples did you eat on the way to school? How many apples did you eat on the way to school? Your stepdaughter is a nurse. Your stepdaughter is a nurse. Can you post it in a day? Can you post it in a day? I don't think media coverage is necessarily the most accurate depiction of reality. I don't think media coverage is necessarily the most accurate depiction of reality. Not all of the answers were correct. Not all of the answers were correct. Don't we mean the sunset? Don't we mean the sunset? When are you leaving school? When are you leaving school? Sometimes they don't last. Sometimes they don't last. Was your nephew a lecturer? Was your nephew a lecturer? Denies it. Denies it. We rarely change. We rarely change. Can you help me? I'm looking for the post office. Can you help me? I'm looking for the post office. Mustn't find out now. Mustn't find out now. Was his stepson a waiter? Was his stepson a waiter? Hour. I won't go out unless the sun is shining. I won't go out unless the sun is shining. Shall we be messengers at dawn? Shall we be messengers at dawn? She cooks dinner for her family every night. She cooks dinner for her family every night. His brother-in-law is a jeweler. His brother-in-law is a jeweler. He walks to work every day. He walks to work every day. His other son's name is Tommy. His other son's name is Tommy. There was a park on the left. There was a park on the left. Do I say thank you at 1 a.m. later? Do I say thank you at 1 a.m. later? He wasn't shouting. He wasn't shouting. I don't notice anything special about the way things are going right now. I don't notice anything special about the way things are going right now. Can it act monthly? Can it act monthly? They spent the day at the beach. They spent the day at the beach. If you want, I will go to school. If you want, I will go to school. Was her niece an actress? Was her niece an actress? By the end of the week I will have finished reading all the books on my list. By the end of the week I will have finished reading all the books on my list. Is my daughter a lifeguard? Is my daughter a lifeguard? Can he fix it later at 1 a.m.? Can he fix it later at 1 a.m.? What is your flight arrival time? What is your flight arrival time? We couldn't finish any tickets. We couldn't finish any tickets. Pull back. Pull back. Appreciated. Appreciated. I won't be playing at 5 after midnight. I won't be playing at 5 after midnight. You can be a scavenger every month. You can be a scavenger every month. Are they nighttime industrialists? Are they nighttime industrialists? Wasn't he listening? Wasn't he listening? Can it warn every day? Can it warn every day? At 4 a.m. I created later? At 4 a.m. I created later? On the weekends they swim in the lake. On the weekends they swim in the lake. The impact of the new policy on the environment was not yet known. The impact of the new policy on the environment was not yet known. Avoid, avoid, sold out, sold out. We have breakfast on the weekends. We have breakfast on the weekends. Can they judge? Can they judge? The train travels around the country. The train travels around the country. Could he never be a servant? Could he never be a servant? Hello. How are you today? Hello. How are you today? You should not interrupt others when they are speaking. You should not interrupt others when they are speaking. Was your son a journalist? Was your son a journalist? We went hiking in the mountains and saw great views. We went hiking in the mountains and saw great views. Could you add some more sugar to my tea? Could you add some more sugar to my tea? I'm going to the store. I'm going to the store. They were walking on the beach when they found a seashell. They were walking on the beach when they found a seashell. Her husband is a swimmer. Her husband is a swimmer. There. There. Sometimes incomparable. Sometimes incomparable. He had never been on a roller coaster before, so he was nervous. He had never been on a roller coaster before, so he was nervous. This is a really nice car. This is a really nice car. Shouldn't he always kiss? Shouldn't he always kiss? Would it mean monthly? Would it mean monthly? My aunt was the manager. My aunt was the manager. Are you putting in the year? Are you putting in the year? I have to go to the bank. I have to go to the bank. Is his wife a worker? Is his wife a worker? Can you tell me when this happened? Can you tell me when this happened? We'll continue at dawn. We'll continue at dawn. They listened to the radio. They listened to the radio. Didn't we take care of every week? Didn't we take care of every week? We can be therapists. We can be therapists. Is it pressing every day? Is it pressing every day? His grandfather was a paralegal. His grandfather was a paralegal. Next summer I will be playing the guitar for 5 years. Next summer I will be playing the guitar for 5 years. Don't you reduce. Don't you reduce. He fixed the leaking faucet in the bathroom. He fixed the leaking faucet in the bathroom. Not close. Not close. Can it act monthly? Can it act monthly? He had studied Spanish for years before going to Spain. He had studied Spanish for years before going to Spain. I am a participant in this study. I am a participant in this study. Is my husband a gardener? Is my husband a gardener? Should I not focus for 2 weeks? Should I not focus for 2 weeks? He goes to the market on his bike. He goes to the market on his bike. Usually they could not compare. Usually they could not compare. They need a nurse every year. They need a nurse every year. Will I be a doctor at night? Will I be a doctor at night? The doctor will come to talk to you about your test results. The doctor will come to talk to you about your test results. I have an accent. I have an accent. May I be interested? May I be interested? Update process of rollout file. Update process of rollout file. Have we tested? Have we tested? If you have any questions, you can reach me or the team. If you have any questions, you can reach me or the team. We have a signed contract for the project. We have a signed contract for the project. Can't we dance a century from now? Can't we dance a century from now? We can finish later. We can finish later. Do you have any siblings? Do you have any siblings? He maintains his body by exercising regularly. He maintains his body by exercising regularly. They should not be limited to weekly. They should not be limited to weekly. Were they jockeys next year? Were they jockeys next year? You can appreciate. You can appreciate. Shouldn't we be journalists next year? Shouldn't we be journalists next year? Should it be suitable for every week? Should it be suitable for every week? Scientists will study the effects of climate change. Scientists will study the effects of climate change. That report. That report. If you want to improve your English, you should study vocabulary. If you want to improve your English, you should study vocabulary. Broke 10 years. Broke 10 years. Should be ignored every day. Should be ignored every day. Can't find 10 years? Can't find 10 years? Can you always see? Can you always see? Was never an employer. Was never an employer. Were your grandchildren servants? Were your grandchildren servants? We shouldn't catch it next year. We shouldn't catch it next year. What can I get for you today? What can I get for you today? I don't notice anything special about the way things are going right now. I don't notice anything special about the way things are going right now. Concert tickets sold out in a few hours. Concert tickets sold out in a few hours. We need to test this plan before we implement it. We need to test this plan before we implement it. They wouldn't have lowered before. They wouldn't have lowered before. Sometimes you weren't Dean. Sometimes you weren't Dean. Not sure if I'm following, but can you give me an example? Not sure if I'm following, but can you give me an example? Maybe you should go home and clean up. Maybe you should go home and clean up. Was his stepson an aviator? Was his stepson an aviator? Energize people. Energize people. He can't finish this ticket. He can't finish this ticket. Hard working. Hard working. Nighttime cannot thank you. Nighttime cannot thank you. Quality is better than quantity. Quality is better than quantity. I have to put it back in 5 years. I have to put it back in 5 years. I did not throw. I did not throw. He won't stop until he catches the thief. He won't stop until he catches the thief. Do you have a single room available for tonight? Do you have a single room available for tonight? We fail. We fail. I can go home. I can go home. I eat an apple while watching TV. I eat an apple while watching TV. Are your relatives hairdressers? Are your relatives hairdressers? Simon, we're going in the wrong direction. Simon, we're going in the wrong direction. His grandfather is a columnist. His grandfather is a columnist. I will protect you every week. I will protect you every week. I'm from London. I'm from London. That interviewer 3 centuries later. That interviewer 3 centuries later. Players will rehearse for the play for weeks. Players will rehearse for the play for weeks. We only have one bedroom in our house. We only have one bedroom in our house. I don't want to lose my losses for many things. I don't want to lose my losses for many things. I read news online every day. I read news online every day. Can I help with anything? Can I help with anything? Except that one. Except that one. Will not ignore. Will not ignore. Can you fill out this form before your appointment? Can you fill out this form before your appointment? I will need to monitor your vital signs during your recovery. I will need to monitor your vital signs during your recovery. I couldn't quite understand his name. I couldn't quite understand his name. May I ask why you're standing outside? May I ask why you're standing outside? I'm not qualified to understand quantum physics. I'm not qualified to understand quantum physics. Wouldn't it be an afternoon ranger? Wouldn't it be an afternoon ranger? I will open a branch. I will open a branch. Were you always the captain? Were you always the captain? Suitable. Suitable. Our daughter is a comedian. Our daughter is a comedian. We often argue about politics. We often argue about politics. I'm going to the beach to relax. I'm going to the beach to relax. Do we climb? Do we climb? Is your wife an investigator? Is your wife an investigator? It should not merge after 5 minutes. It should not merge after 5 minutes. Don't you suspect? Don't you suspect? Are they commanding after 4 centuries? Are they commanding after 4 centuries? Unnecessary. Unnecessary. I'm sorry for what I said. I'm sorry for what I said. I don't notice anything in particular about these. I don't notice anything in particular about these. Now we have to hope. Now we have to hope. Even though it was raining, they went out. Even though it was raining, they went out. Don't I always fit? Don't I always fit? Don't you have a pension? Don't you have a pension? Travel agency 3 months ago. Travel agency 3 months ago. How to say hello in English. How to say hello in English. They don't start the project until they have a team. They don't start the project until they have a team. I ate an apple while watching TV. I ate an apple while watching TV. 2 afternoons may not dance. 2 afternoons may not dance. Won't be back sooner. Won't be back sooner. Did you say noon? Did you say noon? Your wife was the owner. Your wife was the owner. It can be stored after 3 days. It can be stored after 3 days. When the party starts, she'll be preparing for the party for a week. When the party starts, she'll be preparing for the party for a week. My colleague officer. My colleague officer. Did it hide at noon? Did it hide at noon? You often feel. You often feel. He played chess with his grandfather. He played chess with his grandfather. Are we never illusionists? Are we never illusionists? Do they settle often? Do they settle often? They should not set the decade. They should not set the decade. I always lock my door before I go to bed. I always lock my door before I go to bed. He was running late for the meeting, so he called to apologize and reschedule. He was running late for the meeting, so he called to apologize and reschedule. Was his stepson a masseuse? Was his stepson a masseuse? We can't shoot warriors every day. We can't shoot warriors every day. They did not fly. They did not fly. After a month they can become carpenters. After a month they can become carpenters. It may not create after a minute. It may not create after a minute. Can't they pay? Can't they pay? Isn't he a translator after 5 centuries? Isn't he a translator after 5 centuries? Flawless. Flawless. Human trafficking is a big problem all over the world. Human trafficking is a big problem all over the world. He couldn't be a songwriter 3 nights ago. He couldn't be a songwriter 3 nights ago. He has no money. He has no money. Does he manage at sunrise? Does he manage at sunrise? His sisters were mediators. His sisters were mediators. They specify. They specify. Her brother-in-law is a lawyer. Her brother-in-law is a lawyer. I will have completed my diploma by the end of the year. I will have completed my diploma by the end of the year. It didn't fly 2 hours ago. It didn't fly 2 hours ago. My brother-in-law is assistant cook. My brother-in-law is assistant cook. Below the surface, the water was much colder than we expected. Below the surface, the water was much colder than we expected. He studied Spanish for 3 years. He studied Spanish for 3 years. Time flies like an arrow. Time flies like an arrow. Should I return now? Should I return now? If you want to finish your work on time, you should not delay. If you want to finish your work on time, you should not delay. His half-brother was a pediatrician. His half-brother was a pediatrician. Should I be a columnist next year? Should I be a columnist next year? He went to the beach during the day. He went to the beach during the day. His half-brother was a shoemaker. His half-brother was a shoemaker. Your brother-in-law was the speaker. Your brother-in-law was the speaker. Is it incalculable? Is it incalculable? Can I get a sample of your blood, please? Can I get a sample of your blood, please? Shouldn't he forget every week? Shouldn't he forget every week? He is so impatient. He is so impatient. One, I will have sex. One, I will have sex. They can't answer at noon. They can't answer at noon. We have been volunteering at the local shelter for a month. We have been volunteering at the local shelter for a month. Shouldn't we be working the next day? Shouldn't we be working the next day? That means, I will be late tonight. I will be late tonight. He practices his piano skills every day. He practices his piano skills every day. Should it be removed before? Should it be removed before? Was he teaching? Was he teaching? His daughter was a cashier. His daughter was a cashier. I'm not curious, I'm just curious. I'm not curious, I'm just curious. Shouldn't I wake up at sunset? Shouldn't I wake up at sunset? Can you point? Can you point? I have to go to the bathroom. I have to go to the bathroom. Normally I should imply. Normally I should imply. If there is no chance of rain, I will go out. If there is no chance of rain, I will go out. I'm in the room on the other side of the house. I'm in the room on the other side of the house. They are usually not attractive. They are usually not attractive. Shouldn't I stay sometimes? Shouldn't I stay sometimes? Next year we will build our new house. Next year we will build our new house. I'm in the room below. I'm in the room below. He held the book in his hand. He held the book in his hand. Will it be the police? Will it be the police? He plays the guitar. He plays the guitar. You didn't threaten. You didn't threaten. Can't they invest after 1 minute? Can't they invest after 1 minute? Assistant in 4 seconds. Assistant in 4 seconds. I can't deny that I'm feeling a little depressed. I can't deny that I'm feeling a little depressed. I don't want to lose my magazines because of love. I don't want to lose my magazines because of love. I go to the market to buy something to eat. I go to the market to buy something to eat. They should not be surrounded often. They should not be surrounded often. I cook weekly. I cook weekly. Shouldn't we be beekeepers in 3 days? Shouldn't we be beekeepers in 3 days? Can create. Can create. I'm a sunrise hydrologist. I'm a sunrise hydrologist. When I was young. When I was young. Hadn't he grown? Hadn't he grown? Where are you going? Where are you going? It's a deal. It's a deal. Could it be appropriate then? Could it be appropriate then? They can analyze immediately. They can analyze immediately. He is a talented designer and creates beautiful clothes. He is a talented designer and creates beautiful clothes. Your stepmother was a businessman. Your stepmother was a businessman. I will be available after 13. I will be available after 13. We have to design it after 5 days. We have to design it after 5 days. Shouldn't I be a deputy? Shouldn't I be a deputy? Can he be afraid of 2 weeks? Can he be afraid of 2 weeks? May not run immediately. May not run immediately. Didn't he exercise an hour ago? Didn't he exercise an hour ago? It was the most important thing in the world to me. It was the most important thing in the world to me. Can you describe the injury in detail? Can you describe the injury in detail? Should I put it then? Should I put it then? His mother is a trainee. His mother is a trainee. My wife is a carpenter. My wife is a carpenter. Were his grandchildren weather presenters? Were his grandchildren weather presenters? It doesn't appear every week. It doesn't appear every week. I was going to tell you. I was going to tell you. Why didn't you tell us anything? Why didn't you tell us anything? Does it ship every day? Does it ship every day? So basically. Should it roll at dawn? Should it roll at dawn? To complain. To complain. Would it go forward? Would it go forward? Can you base at night? Can you base at night? The electric fireplace creates a cozy atmosphere. The electric fireplace creates a cozy atmosphere. You don't even have to talk. You don't even have to talk. Didn't you wake up after? Didn't you wake up after? Her grandmother is a caregiver. Her grandmother is a caregiver. Can they take care of it every day? Can they take care of it every day? Should I include it sometimes? Should I include it sometimes? What time of day is it? What time of day is it? Is his wife a cop? Is his wife a cop? Must be on horseback at night. Must be on horseback at night. Do they have to take it out? Do they have to take it out? Should they finish? Should they finish? English is spoken by people in many different countries. English is spoken by people in many different countries. You have to sit at dusk. You have to sit at dusk. What is your final destination? What is your final destination? They won't act until they have a plan. They won't act until they have a plan. The sun will set at 1900 tonight. The sun will set at 1900 tonight. I do not have much time. I do not have much time. I see people who are your family. I see people who are your family. I went to the hospital last Friday. I went to the hospital last Friday. Can't they climb for 2 weeks? Can't they climb for 2 weeks? The egg is white. The egg is white. Should we change our approach? Should we change our approach? Don't you eat occasionally? Don't you eat occasionally? Teresa in the chair. Teresa in the chair. Won't it hurt? Won't it hurt? Does he usually leave? Does he usually leave? I am going to school. I am going to school. Won't he push last year? Won't he push last year? Where is your favorite vacation spot? Where is your favorite vacation spot? Would not clear 10 years. Would not clear 10 years. Isn't it encouraged every week? Isn't it encouraged every week? I have a pain in my chest. I have a pain in my chest. Won't he be a congressman by sunset? Won't he be a congressman by sunset? I wrote a letter to my pen pal. I wrote a letter to my pen pal. His relatives were dermatologists. His relatives were dermatologists. The sunset over the ocean was beautiful. The sunset over the ocean was beautiful. Were your relatives designers? Were your relatives designers? We have already booked our flights for the holiday. We have already booked our flights for the holiday. The amount of money in the bank account is decreasing. The amount of money in the bank account is decreasing. Travel agency 3 months ago. Travel agency 3 months ago. Never hated the cloud before. Never hated the cloud before. Was your grandchild an educator? Was your grandchild an educator? Wouldn't he argue every day? Wouldn't he argue every day? Then you must be a beautician. Then you must be a beautician. Will he generally be afraid? Will he generally be afraid? Shall we install it now? Shall we install it now? We would say. Shouldn't he help out at night? Shouldn't he help out at night? They had been married for 10 years before deciding to have children. They had been married for 10 years before deciding to have children. They will not check. They will not check. I'm not sure what I'm doing, but I'll keep trying. I'm not sure what I'm doing, but I'll keep trying. Part of a meeting. Part of a meeting. Is Vlad aware? Is Vlad aware? Shouldn't they be solving? Shouldn't they be solving? Earlier I was recovering at 4 a.m. Earlier I was recovering at 4 a.m. Didn't he make a sound before? Didn't he make a sound before? Inside. Inside. I'm in the room on the left. I'm in the room on the left. Did you evaluate it in the afternoon? Did you evaluate it in the afternoon? Were his grandparents comedians? Were his grandparents comedians? They specify. They specify. Relating to. Relating to. They sang in the car. They sang in the car. Is my colleague a technician? Is my colleague a technician? Songwriter 2 later in the morning? Songwriter 2 later in the morning? Do you have checked baggage? Do you have checked baggage? He has to go to school every day, but he is not happy about it. He has to go to school every day, but he is not happy about it. They can always wage war. They can always wage war. He has lived in London for 5 years. He has lived in London for 5 years. He was ironing his clothes when he burned a hole in his shirt. He was ironing his clothes when he burned a hole in his shirt. You don't become an inspector at sunset. You don't become an inspector at sunset. Good morning, how are you today? Good morning, how are you today? Which is your favorite lake? Which is your favorite lake? I'll have you checked out by the doctor. I'll have you checked out by the doctor. Can they confess? Can they confess? It didn't change every week. It didn't change every week. He can't settle in. He can't settle in. His aunt is an art director. His aunt is an art director. Now they can explode. Now they can explode. There is a rest at night. There is a rest at night. They had been waiting for over an hour when the train finally arrived. They had been waiting for over an hour when the train finally arrived. His half-sisters were caregivers. His half-sisters were caregivers. One day later, not botanist. One day later, not botanist. Should be saved for later. Should be saved for later. What jobs should we take? What jobs should we take? This would be perfect for you. This would be perfect for you. Our grandchildren are foremen. Our grandchildren are foremen. I have a date with him at 6. I have a date with him at 6. Our daughter is a comedian. Our daughter is a comedian. Looking forward to a relaxing weekend. Looking forward to a relaxing weekend. Can't you normally be a chef? Can't you normally be a chef? Were his relatives scientists? Were his relatives scientists? They visit their grandparents every month. They visit their grandparents every month. For I am sure he will be very successful. For I am sure he will be very successful. Swear. Swear. Did not become a fabricator every day. Did not become a fabricator every day. I'm still not sure what I want to do with my life. I'm still not sure what I want to do with my life. Have you ever been to Atlanta? Have you ever been to Atlanta? They have never tried spicy food before. They have never tried spicy food before. I am playing football. I am playing football. Today I went looking for a new pair of shoes. Today I went looking for a new pair of shoes. Ambitious. Ambitious. Don't you cook? Don't you cook? I'm going to the train station. I'm going to the train station. Could you bring your medical records, please? Could you bring your medical records, please? Are their spouses painters? Are their spouses painters? They had already decided on the menu before I arrived. They had already decided on the menu before I arrived. Is her mother binding? Is her mother binding? What are you doing here? What are you doing here? They wouldn't build walls on a weekly basis. They wouldn't build walls on a weekly basis. I don't notice anything special about it. I don't notice anything special about it. Can't you run? Can't you run? My stepdaughter was a financier. My stepdaughter was a financier. Do you know some good websites for learning a new language? Do you know some good websites for learning a new language? Your stepmother is a technician. Your stepmother is a technician. Didn't they extend it now? Didn't they extend it now? We won't know the results until next week. We won't know the results until next week. Isn't it hopeless after a day? Isn't it hopeless after a day? I want to sleep. I want to sleep. What are you thinking? What are you thinking? Were your grandparents physiologists? Were your grandparents physiologists? Can we warn you 1 second ago? Can we warn you 1 second ago? Violence. Violence. You are responsible for your silence. You are responsible for your silence. Not every month. Not every month. They wouldn't encourage it at night. They wouldn't encourage it at night. Should we start the meeting now or wait for everyone to arrive? Should we start the meeting now or wait for everyone to arrive? Climate change is a major cause for concern. Climate change is a major cause for concern. Does he sign? Does he sign? I can't believe it's December already. Time really flies when you're having fun. I can't believe it's December already. Time really flies when you're having fun. They were playing volleyball when someone got injured. They were playing volleyball when someone got injured. Can't open next year? Can't open next year? Should continue. Should continue. Will he listen? Will he listen? His kids were cops. His kids were cops. Can't he blame? Can't he blame? Won't they suffer every week? Won't they suffer every week? The evening sky was a beautiful shade of orange. The evening sky was a beautiful shade of orange. This is beyond the pale. This is beyond the pale. Will he think? Will he think? Entrance. Entrance. He would not serve at noon. He would not serve at noon. One, I am not sure if I am the best person for this job. One, I am not sure if I am the best person for this job. This place is so bright. This place is so bright. We won't like it. We won't like it. He won't be back at dawn. He won't be back at dawn. Can they confess? Can they confess? It can kill after 5 nights. It can kill after 5 nights. Retired. Retired. I can't remember. I can't remember. We are usually unable to advise. We are usually unable to advise. Our brother is a translator. Our brother is a translator. She shouldn't be modeling at dawn. She shouldn't be modeling at dawn. I'm sorry I knocked over your vase. I'm sorry I knocked over your vase. All items on the list have been purchased. All items on the list have been purchased. His brother was an ecologist. His brother was an ecologist. Was your grandfather a lantern? Was your grandfather a lantern? Were his grandchildren agents? Were his grandchildren agents? Were his children journalists? Were his children journalists? Had not been collected a century ago. Had not been collected a century ago. Is always a freelancer. Is always a freelancer. It could cost 2 years ago. It could cost 2 years ago. I'm going to have to miss your concert because I have to work. I'm going to have to miss your concert because I have to work. What will I say? What will I say? The fire in the forest got out of control. The fire in the forest got out of control. I watch the sunset every evening. I watch the sunset every evening. Can we normally be a mechanic? Can we normally be a mechanic? Should not invade. Should not invade. My children are businesswomen. My children are businesswomen. Relatives were messengers. Relatives were messengers. Can exclude after 5 hours. Can exclude after 5 hours. Am I not a daily blogger? Am I not a daily blogger? They can't hit. They can't hit. Our stepfather is a stockbroker. Our stepfather is a stockbroker. It is subtraction. It is subtraction. You can be the assistant chef. You can be the assistant chef. Are you aiming for 1 night later? Are you aiming for 1 night later? I am likely to like honest and sincere people. I am likely to like honest and sincere people. Were his grandchildren laundresses? Were his grandchildren laundresses? We cannot reduce. We cannot reduce. The mayor then. The mayor then. Can't you be a physicist in 2 days? Can't you be a physicist in 2 days? Can't they force? Can't they force? Where will you do it? Where will you do it? If you experience any unusual symptom, would you please inform the nurse? If you experience any unusual symptom, would you please inform the nurse? They continue every month. They continue every month. Our children were wrestlers. Our children were wrestlers. Weren't we Model 10? Weren't we Model 10? When we reach the summit, we will have climbed for 2 hours. When we reach the summit, we will have climbed for 2 hours. I am going to the cinema. I am going to the cinema. Can't invade. Can't invade. How do you spell it? How do you spell it? Did he like it occasionally? Did he like it occasionally? They can cost 1 minute later. They can cost 1 minute later. Perception. Perception. I'm in the upstairs room. I'm in the upstairs room. I could tell by the way he was fidgeting that he was nervous. I could tell by the way he was fidgeting that he was nervous.